Title, Tricking the Young Master, but he fell for me. Shen, the young master of Beijing, had a mother who loved to throw money at girls to get them to stop chasing him. I watched, drooling enough to fill 2 large bowls. So, because I wanted the young master's mother to pay me to leave, I pursued him with immense enthusiasm, skillfully arranging things to make us look like a couple deeply in love. Just as I predicted, she paid me to leave. After a while apart, his mother was very pleased and transferred the remaining amount. But as I was checking my account balance, a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. The young master looked at me, a cold, sneering smile on his face. "Why did you suddenly stop chasing me?" he asked. He leaned in, whispering into my ear, "Are you tired of living, or do you just want to play games?" I'd seen Shen's mother, a Beijing socialite, politely buy off many beautiful girls who clung to her son. She always said, "Take these 5 million yuan and leave my son alone." Those girls never wavered. Why? Because prices were skyrocketing. 5 million yuan wasn't even enough to buy a small apartment in Beijing. They wanted a higher price. Besides, being with the young master could potentially get them far more than 5 million. But the young master's mother would then continue, "If you keep pestering my son, I'll make you disappear from Beijing." My hand, which was pouring tea, froze, so did the other girls. I wondered, is she going to send them straight to the king of hell? But then I'd see them sobbing dramatically, clutching their bank cards tightly as if afraid to drop them, then whimpering, "Fine, I'll go." Right after, they'd call the young master, "I'll never bother you again. Go find whoever you want." I was working part-time at a rather fancy tea house. The boss paid 250 yuan an hour. I went 3 times a week, 3 hours each time, which amounted to 2250 yuan. I used to think I was so clever, earning over 2,000 yuan a week, more than 8,000 a month. And this was just part-time work, quite leisurely too. But seeing that vibrant, rich, money-flinging figure of the young master's mother, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Back at school, I downloaded the class schedule for the finance academy. Then I put on light makeup and bought a 9 yuan, 9 fen pink letter paper. I wrote a love letter to the young master, saying I'd fallen in love with him at first sight, to the point of being unable to control myself. I even copied many love poems to add more emotion. When I finished reading it, even I felt terribly cheesy. When I arrived at their classroom, it wasn't even class time yet, but it was already full. Since it was a large lecture hall, it took me a while to spot the young master. He was sitting in the back row, by the window, with a few of his roommates. All of them had poker faces, playing games seriously. I secretly observed their looks for a moment. Their dorm room was full of handsome guys, once one of the most desired rooms for parties, but all requests had been rejected. The young master was also incredibly handsome, like a sculpted statue. His face was truly breathtaking, capable of delivering a fatal blow to one's soul. I quickly ran and sat down beside him. He was busy, but looked up at me for a moment. His gaze was incredibly sharp, as if I had trespassed on his territory. My heart pounded. He had a bad temper, but I'd heard he didn't hit women. I nervously asked, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" He ignored me and continued playing his game. I immediately took off my outer jacket, revealing the dress underneath, and flipped my hair, trying to make my perfume waft his way. I leaned closer to his ear and introduced myself. He was as cold as an ice block. I noticed people around us had started to sneak glances, their eyes full of disdain for me, clearly eager for some drama. Only when class started did he stop, focusing on the lecture. I secretly slid the love letter towards him, tucking it into his book. He glanced at me, ignoring it. I whispered, "Ethan, I really like you." He raised an eyebrow, looking at me with disdain, then subtly shifted a little further away. After that, I became like a stalker. Wherever he went, I followed. If he went to class early, I'd buy him breakfast, then sit beside him and attend the lecture. If he went back to the dorm after class, I'd go with him. A few times, I even encountered the cleaning auntie who came to collect his dirty laundry. I very naturally asked, "Auntie, are you here for Ethan's clothes? I'll wash them for him from now on. You don't need to come anymore." The cleaning auntie ignored me. I then said to the young master, "Your family really is a charity, hiring even deaf and mute people." His roommates all liked me because I frequently bought food and drinks for their entire room. I even got them the famous tomato sauce meatballs from dining hall number 2. The tomato sauce meatballs were so popular you had to fight for them, but these young masters didn't want to stoop to fighting for food, so I walked into their dorm room as if I owned the place. I even helped them clean up after the cleaning auntie had collected the clothes. The young master started his computer and began working. I sat beside him, quietly watching for a while. That's right, he still ignored me. Every time I just sat there, silently watching him. Luckily, he was very handsome. Thinking about how his mother would eventually pay me 5 million yuan to leave, I felt even more cheerful and relaxed. Occasionally, I would ask him, "Isn't this boring? I sing very well. Should I sing a song for you?" He would coldly reply, "No need." "Then how about I tell you a story?" "No need." "Then I'll tell you about myself. You can't not learn about someone who's pursuing you, can you?" After saying that, I would ignore his rejections and rattle on endlessly about my good qualities. "I think we're a perfect match. You're 1.9 meters tall and I'm 1.6 meters. When we walk together, people will exclaim that we're the cutest height difference couple. Plus, I'm the campus beauty queen of our department. Wherever we go, people will admire us. Oh, and look at you, you don't say a word all day, and I talk so much. How harmonious we'll be when we're together." Sometimes I'd pick out glorious moments from my life to tell him about. When I was little, my essay was praised by the teacher. Guess why? His clicking hand paused, then he continued fiddling with his computer, completely ignoring me. Then I'd giggle naively, because I write well. At times like these, I truly admired my own thick skin. But just thinking about that 5 million yuan card reignited my fighting spirit. He'd wear an expression of disgust, as if the story wasn't even slightly amusing. "Do you know what I usually say when teachers ask us to introduce ourselves and talk about our strengths?" He wore a look of long-suffering patience. I said, "I'd say my hair is especially long, haha." Back in our class, one student said his leg hair was especially long, haha. "Hey, is your asterisk leg hair long? I heard that men with lots of leg hair tend to go bald easily." "Do you want me to check for you?" At this point, he would tell me one word, "Scram." Yet I'd still ask him, "What do you want to eat? I'll buy it for you." Only when I asked what he wanted to eat would he pay attention to me. At those times, he'd think seriously for a moment, then order. Our school cafeteria was really good. Because it was so good, we students were both greedy and lazy. At meal times, we'd all have to drag ourselves out of our semi-paralyzed states to get food. At lunchtime, I bought food for their dorm room, carrying a large bag back. The dorm manager auntie would shake her head helplessly when she saw me. Once, I overheard her saying, "Honestly, there's no cure. Girls these days are truly shameless." As I stepped through the door, the young master glanced at me and said, "Don't buy food for them anymore." His roommates immediately protested. "How can you discriminate like that?" He told them to scram. The two of us sat at his table eating. I felt like the progress bar of my pursuit had increased another segment. I also found our interactions truly miraculous. After a month of living together, to say he was easy to chase would be a lie. It was like he was selectively deaf and blind, only hearing what he wanted to hear. To say he was hard to chase. I heard no one was allowed to sit next to him in class, yet I could bother him daily, sitting right beside him. I could even openly claim a place in his dorm room. For example, now, if I said I wanted to eat and watch a movie, he'd hand me his laptop. Sometimes, if he saw something annoying, he'd cover his eyes and tell his roommates, "Dad's blind now. There are truly all sorts of idiotic scripts these days." I'd look at him with disdain. "Haven't you ever seen this in real life? I have to nap every day." After eating, I went back to my dorm. Before I left, his roommate winked at me and whispered that Shen's birthday was coming up. I thought, I absolutely must put on a grand confession. If I remained a frog in a well, his mother wouldn't even know about me. Besides, he now completely treated me like free service. Although being by his side was fun, ultimately, it was just my asterisk fun. I often put on a show for myself, like a stand-up comedian. Not only could I make others laugh, but I could also make myself laugh. But as for how to confess, I still had no clue. I went online to search for low-cost confession methods. Finally, I decided that on his birthday, I would use candles to form a heart on the school's sports field. In the middle, I'd use candles to spell out both our names. The dumber it looked, the better. His roommates were my eyes and ears. They helped me drag him there. He looked at me, then at the pile of candles, then at the curious onlookers, and turned around to leave without a shred of hesitation. "Wait, there's more?" I yelled. I felt incredibly embarrassed, but for 5 million yuan, what was a little embarrassment? Luckily, the security guard came to my rescue, using a fire extinguisher to put out all my candles, all the while scolding me for causing him more trouble. I helped clean up, whispering apologies. I felt Ethan Shen was truly too much. He wouldn't even walk a little closer, even though I'd bought him food so many times. However, I became famous on social media because someone filmed it and posted it online. The next day, an unknown number called me. I answered. The caller said they were Mrs. Shen's secretary and that Mrs. Shen wanted to meet me. I immediately agreed. It was at the same tea house. She frowned at me. So, you're the one who keeps pestering my son all day. Auntie, you can't say that. We truly love each other. I put on an upright act. No one can separate us. She ignored me. Here are 5 million yuan. Leave my son alone. My heart bloomed with 1,000 flowers. I used my left hand, which I'd pre-applied chili sauce to, and lightly wiped my eyes. Damn, that stings. My tears poured like rain. I unconsciously rubbed them again, and this time a river of tears streamed down. We truly love each other. He even said he wants to marry me. His mother's expression immediately changed, and she let out a cold laugh. Mary, look at yourself. Are you worthy of my son? Auntie, you can't say that. Your son likes me, so I must have something special about me. She paused for a moment, then said, if you agree to leave him, break up with him, I'll give you another 5 million yuan later. Otherwise, I said pitifully, it's not that I'm leaving him for money. It's just that love without the blessings of both parents won't last. Since that's the case, Auntie, do we need to sign an agreement? Please make sure to write clearly that this is a gift. She looked disgusted and said, anything the Shen family gives out, we don't take back. Just break up with my son quickly and get out of my sight. Yes, I understand. I called Ethan Shen. Initially, I didn't have his number, but to make buying him food easier, I had gone to great lengths to get his WeChat and phone number. Our WeChat history was truly pathetic, unbearable to look at. It was all me unilaterally sending him messages, telling lame jokes, or long-winded ghost stories. He'd only reply with 1 or 2 emojis. But when it was mealtime, he'd regain his linguistic function and start ordering food. The phone rang twice before he picked up. As soon as he answered, he directly said, for lunch, I want 3 topping noodles. His voice still sent shivers down my spine, so pleasant to the ear. If I had a son like him, I'd also chase away all those demons and monsters outside, keeping them far away from him. But the 3 topping noodles were at dining hall number 4, which was in a different academic building. I'd have to bike past a traffic light. It took 15 minutes to get there. Plus, there was always a line because those 3 topping noodles were delicious. But he had just humiliated me like that. And now he dared to make such an outrageous request? What a jerk. I tearfully cried, eat, eat, eat. All you ever think about is eating. I'll never bother you again. Let's break up. With that, I hung up, deleted his WeChat, clutched the 5 million yuan card, and disappeared from the cafe. I immediately went to the bank, intending to withdraw the money and transfer it to my own card. But then I slapped my forehead. I'd forgotten to ask for the password. Did she trick me? Just as I thought that, my phone received a message from the secretary, sending me the password. Truly, a villain's heart gauges a gentleman's measure. With 5 million yuan, I immediately quit my part-time job and focused on studying for exams. Before, I really wanted to study abroad, but I couldn't afford it, so I put it aside. But now that I had money, I started preparing. My roommate found it strange and asked, aren't you chasing that cold flower of the finance academy? Why are you cooped up in the dorm studying every day? Couldn't chase him down. I gave up, I said with a giggle. But after I gave up, Ethan Shen frequently appeared around me. Every time I saw him on the road, I pretended not to notice, then quickly walked away. A few days later, his roommates came to find me, saying he was just too embarrassed to apologize, but he didn't hate me. They even said if I persevered a bit more, I could definitely become their sister-in-law. All the guys in his dorm claimed to be the eldest brother, except for Ethan Shen, who didn't bother to compete. That's because he truly was the eldest brother. Everyone in the room had to listen to him. I said dejectedly, oh, forget it. You can force oil and force grease, but you can't force fate. I don't want to bother him anymore. His roommates left with expressions like they were constipated. I thought this whole thing was over. But 2 days later, he came to my class, listened to the lecture, and even sat next to me. I immediately tensed up, afraid his mother's spies would think I'd broken our agreement. He cleared his throat, awkwardly saying, I'm sorry about that day, I just didn't want to be watched by others. He actually apologized to me. I also quickly whispered an apology. It was me who overdid it and caused you trouble. I should be the one apologizing. His eyes widened slightly. You knew it was your fault, so why did you ignore me? It was like it was my fault. I tried hard to suppress my anger so I wouldn't blurt out, Scram. I turned my head, ignoring him again. Perhaps he wasn't a talkative person to begin with. Seeing me ignore him, he could only sit there. I felt like continuing this way wasn't good either, so I said, "What are you doing? This is my major's course. It's useless for you to study it." He glanced at the marriage law textbook on my desk and said, "Who knows, maybe I'll need it someday." When class ended, it was lunchtime. He asked, "Shall we go eat together?" I looked at him, speechless. "Actually, I don't like you." "Can you understand?" He froze. I was extremely embarrassed. "I'm sorry." His face went pale. He didn't say a word, then turned and walked away. It was terrifying. For a moment, I felt like he wanted to choke me to death. No wonder people said he was difficult to deal with. It was truly seeking wealth in danger. I watched his tall, straight back, thinking to myself, after I study abroad and come back with lots of money, I'll return his mother's money. After all, those capitalists exploit us poor people so much. Me tricking them out of a little money is like robbing the rich to give to the poor, right? This time, Shen truly ignored me. I no longer ran into him frequently at school, and his roommates stopped trying to talk sense into me. Sometimes I felt it was truly miraculous. Thankfully, his mother had appeared in time. Otherwise, if he was so easy to chase, what if I had actually succeeded in chasing him? Wouldn't I have just hurt him more? Once, we accidentally ran into each other on the stairs. It was incredibly awkward because I accidentally looked directly into his eyes first. I couldn't even pretend not to see him. As a result, he walked away coldly. This made me feel a pang of guilt. However, after thinking it over, he'd had so many girlfriends before. I was practically nothing to him, at most a free service. And yet, I was worried he'd be heartbroken. 2 months later, Shen's mother sought me out again at the same tea house. This time, her expression was somewhat milder. She told me, "I see you keep your word." Then she pushed the bank card towards me. I didn't feel as happy as the first time. I secretly thought, actually, I don't really need this money that much, but it would be a waste not to take it. As I reached out to take the card, it was suddenly held tight by someone. It wasn't Mrs. Shen, but Shen, who had appeared behind me without me noticing. He still looked at me with that cold expression. His mother was a little flustered. However, he didn't even spare her a glance, only saying to me, "HMPH, no wonder you suddenly stopped chasing me, so you've already taken my mother's money." His mother immediately sold me out. "Son, don't let this woman trick you. She just wants money." Last time, when I gave her money, she was so happy, like she was just waiting for me to give it to her. Initially, she worked at this tea house. Every time I drove away your younger brother's women, you probably don't know, but she watched with such greedy, envious eyes. I think she deliberately tried to seduce your younger brother, failed, then saw you were easy to fool and switched to tricking you. Younger brother? Why is there so much new information? Let me think this through slowly. But at this moment, Shen leaned close to my ear and whispered, "The last person who dared to play games with me, the grass on their grave is already very tall. Nadia Yi, are you tired of living?" I didn't get the final payment, because Shen dragged me away. Before leaving, he told his mother, "Mom, don't interfere in my affairs." The poor bank card was left forgotten on the table. As he dragged me downstairs, I tried to pull my hand away, but couldn't. Instead, he shoved me into his car. I was startled and asked, "Are you going to kill me to silence me?" He drove very fast. I could only remain silent, feeling a little relieved when the car headed towards the school. But he stopped the car in front of a villa and dragged me out. His face was icy cold, and he looked very angry. I felt a bit regretful, constantly feeling like he was going to kill me. So, as soon as I got out of the car, I immediately squatted down and hugged his leg tightly. "Ethan, I didn't do anything. I'll return all the money your mother gave me. Please forgive me, I beg you. I'll disappear from your sight forever." He became even more impatient, mercilessly lifting me from the ground and carrying me into the house. I clung tightly to the iron bars next to the door, refusing to go inside, even if it killed me. Then he struggled with me, determined to pry my hands off. "What do you want to do?" I was both scared and angry. "I've served you for so long, how can you be so heartless and turn your back on me? You dare to bring up the past? You dared to play games with me, Nadia Yi." "You dared to play games with me? What do you want?" I insisted. "I won't go in there with you. What if you kill me? At least out here I can leave some evidence." He let out a cold laugh, and with force from both hands, my wrists hurt so much that I had to let go. Then he pulled me into the house. He actually tied me up with ropes. I really hadn't expected that just for a moment of greed, I'd be kidnapped for the first time in my life, and by a prominent young master at that. I was tied to the sofa. He sat opposite me, his face gloomy, looking as if he was contemplating how many pieces to chop me into. As for me, from initially begging for mercy to later cursing nonstop, nothing could make his expression waver even slightly. Staring at him all afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up, I really needed to use the restroom. He was still sitting there, deep in thought. How long are you going to keep me tied up? I need to use the restroom now. He glanced at me, completely unmoved. You're a criminal now and you still dare to make demands? I'm a criminal? Then what did you get out of it? Buying you food every day was exhausting, and I had to cater to your roommates too. Besides, I already said I'd return the money to you. I really don't have the good fortune to enjoy this money. I remembered his mother mentioning he had a younger brother. I suddenly felt certain I had mistaken him for someone else, because, from my observation, other than my shameless self clinging to him, there wasn't even a single fly around Shen. He was completely different from the rumored playboy, so I must have mistaken him for someone else. If it was his younger brother, there definitely wouldn't have been so much trouble. Therefore, I couldn't help but say, I know I found the wrong person. I should have chased your younger brother instead. I'm sorry, okay? If you're still angry, I'll keep buying you food for an entire semester. At the mention of his younger brother, his expression became even more unpleasant. So, you really are like my mother said, you came after me for money, and originally you intended to chase Shen Nadia? I couldn't help but flinch. But then he suddenly changed his expression. His mood seemed to lighten considerably. He even untied me. I looked at him a little confused. Outside, it was already dark. I came out of the restroom and asked him, "Can I go now? What do you want to eat tomorrow? I'll buy you food to make up for it. As for the money your mother gave me, she gave it to you, it has nothing to do with me." He smiled at me. It was the first time I'd seen him smile. Before, I thought he had facial paralysis. His smile was very handsome, just very cold. Then he said, "I accept your confession. From now on, you are my girlfriend. Surprised?" Gulp. I choked on my own saliva more like gasped in horror. He placed a hand on my shoulder, leaning close to my ear to whisper, "I'll make you regret angering me." I couldn't help but shiver. Can I refuse? How do you feel about being locked up here forever or being my girlfriend? You choose. A hero doesn't suffer immediate losses. Plus, he's so handsome. Who knows who will actually lose out? So I bravely said, "Then I choose to be your girlfriend." But I had underestimated Shen's shamelessness. After we returned to school, he openly dragged me everywhere, showing me off. Everyone looked at us with admiring eyes. Then his demands became even greater than before. As long as I didn't have class, he would immediately call me to him. At first, I was too lazy to pay attention to him. After all, we'd already had a falling out. Why should I still serve him? I wasn't stupid. I ignored him and went to the library to study. But my happiness didn't last 2 days before he blocked my path at the library. He wasn't even angry, just looked at me with cold eyes. I wrinkled my nose. "I want to study for exams. Even though we're boyfriend and girlfriend, we can't interfere with each other's lives, right?" He nodded. "Of course." Then he opened a box and said to me, "Now that we're a couple, this is a gift for you." It was a rather beautiful bracelet. Before I could say no need, he took my hand and immediately put it on me. It even clicked. I looked at it suspiciously. It even has a password. Then I couldn't take it off. I was a little flustered but calmly asked, "What kind of fancy bracelet is this?" He placed a hand on my shoulder, forcibly pulled me away, and told me, "There's something even fancier." We went out for a meal, which was quite rare. The result was that it looked nice but wasn't as good as the cafeteria food. Plus, we had to leave school, wasting my time. While in the car, I continued memorizing English vocabulary. He drove me back to the dorm, then turned and said to me, "When I call you, you must come immediately. Otherwise, you'll face the consequences yourself." I rolled my eyes at him as a reply. I still held a grudge about him forcing me to choose between being locked up or being his girlfriend, especially since he kidnapped me for an entire afternoon. I felt he was no longer a good person, nor was he the handsome, cold guy worth my efforts to appease anymore. The next day, he sent me a message telling me to buy him food. I ignored him and went to the cafeteria myself, then to the library to study. As soon as I sat down, my bracelet suddenly screamed. I nearly jumped out of my seat. The bracelet screamed, "My name is Nadia Yi, my name is Nadia Yi. Ha!" Then this sentence repeated itself over and over. Everyone looked at me as if I were a mental patient. I wanted to take the bracelet off or press some button to turn it off, but I couldn't remove it, nor could I find any button. I quickly ran out of the library. Along the way, everyone looked at me with strange eyes, as if saying, "Since when did our school get another crazy person like this?" I angrily called Ethan Shen. "You lowlife," he slowly said. "Girlfriend, come buy me food quickly." The bracelet finally stopped screaming. I went to the cafeteria to buy food and then to the male dorm. I thought I should write a petition to the school to prohibit female students from entering male dorms. That way, I wouldn't have to go find Ethan Shen anymore. I walked into their dorm. His roommates all ambiguously called me sister-in-law. I grunted in response. I threw the food onto his table. Angrily, I said, "Do you know how humiliated I just was? How can you be so wicked? Do you know how many people across the entire school are laughing at me now?" He gave me a fake smile, his two dimples looking very annoying. Same difference. After delivering the food, I was furious. "Can I leave now, young master?" "No." His roommates all looked at us curiously, their eyes seeming to ask when I would finally be able to change the situation. I angrily threw my backpack onto the table. He started studying. From then on, it was like he had found my weakness. As long as I dared not reply to his messages or not go find him, he would make that bracelet scream. We were like an old married couple, living together for so many years, only wishing the other would drop dead and get it over with, yet unable to not be together. He knew I was studying for TOEFL, so he told me to return the 5 million yuan his mother gave me to him. That day, we had another earth-shattering fight. I said, "Didn't you and your mother say that what the Shen family gives they don't take back? Have you no shame? I've put in so much effort, getting a little benefit is only natural." He said, "You get a little money and you start getting arrogant. You're my girlfriend now. Look at what you've done, where's the self-awareness of a girlfriend? By what right do you get to study abroad? If you don't take the money and leave me, don't say 5 million, I'll give you 50 million. Who wants your dirty money?" Honestly, I must have said that in a fit of anger. Because after we got together, he put a lot of money on my meal card and even gave me another card, telling me to spend it. Although I didn't need to spend much, it didn't stop me from keeping the card. Every week, I'd take his card and treat my roommates to ridiculously expensive meals, broadening their horizons. I'm a very pragmatic person. This is my emotional distress compensation. If you don't want it, give it back. You're not allowed to use my family's money to study abroad. Ethan Shen, you really look down on me. Take this bracelet off. I want to break up with you. Break up my ass unless I die. At that moment, I felt like we were already married, even though we weren't. It was terrifying. But we were still university students, after all. At lunch, we had another earth-shattering argument over what to eat, overshadowing the previous fight. He said he wanted spicy stir-fried chicken from dining hall number 1. I said I wanted to go to dining hall number 4 for 3-topping noodles. He said dining hall number 4 was too far and he was too lazy to go. I said, "Then I'll go by myself." Now he had transformed from his initial, semi-paralyzed, state to accompanying me to the cafeteria every day. My time was very precious. This was, of course, after I had secured the money and knew I could study abroad. Normally, when I walked to the cafeteria, I'd listen to English listening exercises. While eating, I'd watch American movies. After eating, I'd stroll by the lake for a bit, still listening to English, then go back to the dorm to sleep. But if I went with Ethan Shen, he wouldn't allow me to look at my phone or wear headphones. Even if we weren't talking, he wouldn't permit it. He said it was rude to him, and as a young master, he didn't allow others to be rude to him. I asked if he was sick. He immediately threatened me by pressing the bracelet. Because of the food dispute, I said, "Then let's each eat our own food. No need to accommodate anyone." Great idea. In the end, he dragged me to buy a serving of spicy stir-fried chicken, then took it to dining hall number 4 to eat noodles. My petition to the school was quickly accepted. Male dormitories were strictly prohibited for female students. After this announcement was issued, Ethan Shen told me, "Let's move out and live together." I looked at him as if he were a mental patient and said, "I'm against premarital relations." He let out a cold laugh, but he completely ignored my opinion, then forced me to complete the procedures to move out of the dorm. Because of this, I had an earth-shattering argument with the dorm manager, arguing that the school's procedure for moving out of dorms had serious loopholes. Anyone could casually complete the paperwork for someone else. However, there was one advantage to Ethan Shen's villa. It had a private bathroom. No need to go to the public showers. Bathing was relatively convenient. I asked Ethan Shen, "Did you also go to the public showers when you were at school?" "Yes." He raised an eyebrow and asked me, You want to go to the public showers? Then you can come to my room. We can shower together and create a public shower atmosphere. Psych. Before the winter break of our 3rd year of university, he said everyone was going out to play. The everyone he spoke of only included his roommates and a few other friends, and everyone brought their girlfriends. I didn't want to go, but he wouldn't allow me to refuse. Moreover, the more I refused, the more he wanted to defy me. Arguing with him was truly a waste of my life. We went to his family's mountain resort. Because it had snowed, everything was covered in white. The mountain air was very different from the city. There was also a ski resort and a horse racing track with many people skiing. He asked me what I wanted to do. I looked at the ski resort with keen interest. We had a lot of fun. In the evening, we ate barbecue. The moon was high, hanging pale white above the treetops. Couples dispersed one by one. He took my hand and asked if I wanted to go for a hot spring bath. I said, "Won't it be cold?" "No." Then we followed the mountain path upwards. He said the hot springs were elsewhere, a bit of a walk. Normally, you could take a cable car, but the night scenery had its own unique charm. We stepped on the thick layer of snow, making a crunching sound. The world suddenly became unusually quiet. He walked ahead, and I held his hand, stepping into his footprints. Thinking about how we, like crazy people, had reached this day, I couldn't help but laugh. Ethan Shen, Ethan Shen, Ethan Shen, Ethan Shen, why were you so easy to chase? I burst out laughing. You were way too easy to chase, and they dared to call you a cold flower. After saying that, I couldn't help but stop. It's so obvious. From the beginning, I should have realized you weren't that playboy. Everyone called you a cold flower, completely different from the playboy type. Before, I only saw him and his mother walking together at school. He called her Mom, so I just assumed his mother was chasing away the girls surrounding him. He also stopped, looking at me with suspicion. Under the moonlight, his face looked incredibly gentle, his eyes gazing at me as soft as water. Then, under the moonlight, he kissed me. We had kissed before, but every time he kissed me, I'd imagine myself as a dead piece of pork and couldn't help but burst out laughing. He'd ask me what I was laughing at. I'd say, "I'm imagining myself as a dead piece of pork. You're kissing a dead piece of pork right now?" After that, he would kiss me even more fiercely. I'd ask, "Are you hungry? How about I grill you some pork belly skewers?" Then his face would become incredibly grim. He'd say, "Sooner or later, I'll make you cry and beg for my forgiveness." Now, as he kissed me, I felt lightheaded. Indeed, kissing needed a bit of a romantic atmosphere. The moonlight was beautiful, and the kiss was beautiful too. We continued along the mountain path. My cheeks felt hot. I asked him, "Are there wolves on the mountain?" "Yes, so you need to stay close to me. If you die from a wolf bite trying to save me, I'll stay single for 3 years to mourn you. If you die saving me and you dare to find someone new, I'll become a ghost and never let you go. Love is about respect and blessings. Your road ahead is still very long." Someone who can sell herself cheap for money and deceive others like you dares to teach me about love. The good atmosphere we just had completely vanished. I said, "Stop bringing up the past all the time. I really don't understand what the point is. At least it gives us another topic to argue about." In this hot spring area, apart from the staff, there was no one else. I asked him, "Is this place guarded year-round?" "Of course." "Then this pool must have been soaked in by them already. If I had a job like that, I'd come here every day to enjoy it." He pointed above. "There are surveillance cameras." I immediately felt much more at ease. I changed clothes and came out. He was already soaking in the pool. I went to him. In the pool, there was a floating tray with red wine and pastries. What enjoyment! I took a sip of the wine. It was delicious, incredibly sweet and smooth. I couldn't help but drink a lot. He asked me if I could not go study abroad. I felt my alcohol tolerance was very good. My mind was perfectly clear. This kind of wine was nothing special. "Of course not." I gave him a disdainful glance. "If it weren't for wanting to earn money to study abroad, how could I have been? Threatened by you?" I didn't say the word threatened. After all, the atmosphere was so good right now. Arguing would really spoil the mood. I could only say, "What do you know? You just know how to order me around." I even let out a mournful sigh. He pulled me closer and hugged me. If it were before, I would definitely have struggled a bit before he could calmly hug me. But at this moment, I felt a little dizzy, so I obediently leaned into him. In our country, studying for a master's or PhD isn't the same. But I want to experience life abroad. I want to see how other people live. If you leave, what about me? You're not my son, you don't need to breastfeed. Go wherever you want. I heard him give a cold laugh again. I turned around and pinched his arm, complaining, "Are you going to die if you don't mock me?" and cold laughing at me, I'll hit you. His eyes, in the hazy steam, became even more sparkling and bright. I reached out and touched his eyebrow. He truly was very handsome. Then we kissed, kissing until my head felt dizzier and dizzier. When I changed clothes and came out, I still felt very dizzy. Is your hot spring poisoned or something? Why is my head so dizzy? I drank so much wine, but I'm not like an alcoholic. It's all thanks to your good wine. He helped me, wanting to go back to the room to rest. I looked up at the moon above. It's so big, the air is really cold, but not too cold. Seeing me not moving, he also looked up at the moon. I said, boyfriend, I actually really like you. Watching the moon with you makes me very happy. You too? Then can you carry me back? I can't walk anymore. He carried me along the path we had taken earlier. Around us were sparse trees and the thick snow still crunched. We didn't talk, but many years later, I still remembered that path, that temperature, that snowfall, and that moonlight and Ethan Shen. He took me back to the room. I glanced around. It was a rather large room. I sat on the bed and politely told him, thank you, you can go now. I can manage by myself from here. There are no more empty rooms, he said, sitting down beside me with a very clear intention. Well, then there's truly no other way. I thought for a moment and said, then let's put a pillow in the middle. You're not allowed to cross that line. He smiled again and pulled me to brush my teeth and wash my face. The room was very warm. I changed into my pajamas, sat on the bed, and listened to the sound of running water inside, feeling a deep sense of peace. Then I climbed into bed and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was because he kissed me awake. He mumbled, Nadia, why didn't you wait for me and just fell asleep by yourself, huh? As he took off my clothes, I held his hands. My heart pounded. No, why? I couldn't think of a reason. Does something like this even need a reason? I'm a follower of something and can't have premarital relations. Do you believe me? I held out my hand in front of him. Okay, then you have to take this off for me. He was very agreeable. He took out his phone, shone a light on it, then pressed a few buttons and took off the screaming bracelet for me. The next day when I woke up, I secretly thought, this is great, I'm finally free, that hateful bracelet is finally off. Then I raised my hand and looked. Why is it still here? I rubbed my eyes. Still there. He pushed the door open from outside. Awake already? You shouldn't drink. It's already noon. Why is it still here, huh? How did you know? When I went downstairs, I was still chasing you to hit you. You tricked me again. In the following semester of our third year, I was very busy every day, but Ethan Shen was even busier than me. He interned at his family's company, sometimes working on projects for days without coming home. Our relationship was better than ever. We rarely argued, still discussing what to eat in our free time, just like before. But besides eating, we didn't have time for anything else. Sometimes, both of us would be in the study. He worked, and I studied. He also no longer mentioned me not being allowed to study abroad. Actually, sometimes I wondered if he even knew what I was doing, just as I knew absolutely nothing about his work. Sometimes, when he returned from a business trip, I'd smell an unfamiliar scent on him, and I always felt he was so distant. When he was on online lectures or making calls, I also felt like I didn't know him at all. It was like he was a different person. In fact, every time I saw him like that, I was very scared. But I couldn't voice this feeling, nor could I show it outwardly. Moreover, as time went on, his life was filled with family work and many other things, while my world only consisted of my major and my work. Apart from being university students together, I really couldn't think of anything else we could talk about. About his work, I wanted to ask, but didn't know where to start. About my studies, if he asked too much, I'd find it annoying. I'd have to explain everything from beginning to end again. During the summer break of my third year, I had a good amount of free time, but he became even busier. I knew he once stayed awake for over 30 hours straight. I didn't dare talk to him because when he worked, he was very serious, exuding an aura that said, "Stay away from me." But he was truly becoming more and more distant. He was no longer the semi-paralyzed guy who waited for me to buy him food every day. Sometimes, time passed so quickly, as if yesterday I was still admiring the golden ginkgo leaves fluttering in the wind at school, immersed in the beauty of autumn. Yet today, it was already uncomfortably hot. For most of my fourth year of university, I was free, except for going to school to have a farewell meal with classmates. Most of the time, I was at the villa, waiting for him. This was truly unbelievable. But I felt that in a relationship, girls often fall deeper and deeper, loving more and more. Sometimes I felt like a waiting for husband rock. At such times, I'd imagine that one day, when Ethan Shen returned, he'd find me transformed into a stone, a hint of a smile still on my lips, but tears welling in my eyes. At that moment, he would realize that his indifference due to work had turned me into this. Then he'd be heartbroken, spit out a mouthful of blood, and die. Sometimes, I also felt like a ghost, wandering through every corner of the villa, then sorrowfully replaying the happy days between us, regretting that I hadn't treated him better, knowing there wouldn't be another chance later. Our love story truly felt very much like a long-distance marriage. This made me incredibly surprised. However, I had also read many books and watched many movies, feeling that I had matured a lot. Books and films once again calmed me down, helping me carefully analyze our strange relationship. Overall, I found it very beneficial. When he was at the villa, we rarely talked. Most of our interaction was physical. His infatuation with my body far surpassed his concern for my soul. I was also infatuated with that feeling. Being hugged, kissed, loved, and pampered by him made me feel like we were very, very close. This could dispel the lonely thoughts in my heart when he wasn't around. But every time after it ended, as the warmth of his body slowly faded from mine, an intense sorrow would engulf me even more. I don't know how else to describe that feeling. It can be summed up in one sentence: truly being in love isn't a good thing at all. If two people are in love, they'll do the stupidest things every day, wasting time, no longer wanting to study or improve. If two people are separated, they'll spend all their thoughts longing for each other. If two people fall out of love, they'll have to deal with endless pain. During the period I was preparing to study abroad, Shen was not in Beijing at all. He frequently traveled for business, and I didn't know if he was cheating on me or not. If I put myself in his shoes, I could very well understand him cheating on me. Because if I had to bear such immense work pressure and had a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend every day, and even when we were together, my girlfriend couldn't fully understand my work, then it would truly be as easy as flipping a hand for him to fall in love with a colleague nearby or some young intern. I looked at the bedroom, living room, and garden where we used to live together and couldn't help but let out a sorrowful sigh. I felt like the white moonlight in the male lead's heart, who must go study abroad to make way for the female lead in those CEO romance novels. Who knows, perhaps the bright moon would regret it later. But at that moment, how could I abandon my bright future, my potentially very different future, to gamble on someone's conscience and love? People grow at different rates, and their starting points are even more different. With such a vast gap, how many storms can true love withstand? Glass breaks easily, it's better to give up a little earlier. In his study, there was a Bible. I wrote a sentence in it: I'm leaving. After a moment's thought, I added another sentence: actually, I really like you. It's okay if you forget me, because I'll forget you too. Then I deleted his WeChat. Otherwise, I would definitely regret it and go find him. But even now, I didn't know what to say to him anymore. It seemed I couldn't tell him, "Aren't you bored? How about I sing a song for you?" He had grown up. He was an adult now. How could I say such childish things anymore? Studying abroad was my dream, starting a new, different life in a strange city. Even just renting an apartment or strolling on the streets felt very romantic to me. I quickly adapted to my new life. My roommate was a medical student, always gone. She'd only return late at night, then I'd hear muffled sobs coming from her room in her sleep. Every time that happened, I felt lucky that I had deleted Shen's contact. Otherwise, I would definitely want to call him in the quiet of the late night. After all, besides him, I had no one else to contact. My parents died in a car accident when I was in middle school. After that, I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother passed away when I was in high school. Other relatives had no need for contact. 2 months passed, and I truly couldn't stand it anymore. Every evening, the apartment downstairs always emitted the aroma of Chinese food. Even the strong smell of stir-fried chili made my mouth water. So late and still cooking. How annoying. Besides, we're neighbors. How can they not share a little with their neighbors? I packed some fruit, then followed the aroma and knocked on the neighbor's door. We should get to know each other. The result? As soon as the door opened, the person who appeared before me was Shen. Seeing him, I realized he was my home. I frantically missed his scent, his warmth, his embrace, his voice, and even his breath. I didn't know why I had wanted to leave him before, just as I didn't know why he had suddenly matured so much. Just as I was staring blankly at him, tears welling in my eyes, my ex-boyfriend, Shen, brazenly poured the entire plate of mouth-watering sweet and sour pork ribs to a dog. The dog ate it with indescribable delight. Yesterday, I still sympathized with it, thinking it was a pitiful stray dog just like me. But today, it was enjoying the Chinese food I desperately craved. Shen looked at me nonchalantly and asked, "Excuse me, student, is there something I can help you with?" I stared at him in shock. I hadn't expected him to become so wicked. But with that strong aroma wafting through the air, surely he wouldn't be so heartless as to feed all the food to the dog, right? I offered him the fruit, choking up as I said, "I came to get to know my new neighbor. I don't accept gifts from strangers." I was speechless. I threw caution to the wind and hugged him tightly. Even if he tried to push me away, I would cling to him. We struggled like that for a long time, until someone asked if he needed to call the police. Only then did I let go. Tears welled in my eyes. Nadia Yi, so studying abroad means running to someone else's door in the middle of the night and desperately throwing yourself into their arms? You have no idea how much I missed you. How miserable my life has been since I left you. I kept complaining. I completely forgot about asking for food. The professor lectures so fast, my head feels like it's going to explode. Every day I have to read so much material and write so many essays. Plus, I don't have any friends. Every day I miss you so much and want to call you, but then I think you must have found someone new. If I call you, you'll definitely laugh at me. You clearly wanted to leave yourself. Why are you saying all this to me? He said coldly. I'm not anyone to you. I stared at him in surprise. Aren't you here to rekindle our old flame? Otherwise, why would you be cooking right downstairs from me, deliberately tempting me? Do you think I'm a dog for you to play with? He said, his face gloomy. Break up when you want, get back together when you want, come when you want, leave when you want. I looked at him, heartbroken, and said, "Break up fine, just give me some of the food you cooked. I'm craving hometown food so much. I can't leave empty-handed." In the end, he still allowed me into his house. The stray dog was chased outside. His house was incredibly clean and tidy, completely unlike my messy place. I felt that being rich was truly great. Anywhere could be home. "Since when did you learn to cook?" I asked after devouring a large portion. "What are you doing here?" I came to see how miserable some people would be after leaving me. I had calmed down, and the aroma of the food had dispelled all my initial sadness. I said triumphantly, "Then you must be disappointed. Although I've faced many difficulties, these things definitely can't defeat me." He took a deep breath. "Come back to the country with me. Let's get married immediately." What's the point of studying here all alone and lonely? If your soul already feels lonely, then you'll be lonely no matter where you are. Besides, when we were living together, it was just like being married, wasn't it? That kind of life, although I found it quite romantic, I don't want to experience it a second time. That evening, I didn't go home. Shen said I had eaten his food, so I had to repay him. After that, the previous feeling of loneliness finally stopped coming. Because when I woke up, he was still holding me tightly, not like before, when he seemed busy running for president, and I'd wake up to find him gone. Shen stayed for 5 days, then flew back to the country. He said if he didn't return, his younger brother would think he could turn the world upside down. The day he left, I clung tightly to his leg, wailing miserably. "You absolutely must visit me soon, otherwise I'll starve to death." After getting back together with Shen, I felt much more relaxed and motivated in life. I studied diligently, wanting to quickly finish the assignments my professor gave and read all the necessary books, so that when he came, I could be by his side anytime, anywhere, even if it was just looking at him without talking. I felt that studying in a foreign land truly had a romantic feeling. If one carried sweet expectations for the future in their heart, this romantic feeling would be like adding honey incredibly sweet. Shen visited me once a month. I called this day Visitation Day. His cooking skills were excellent. It wasn't because he cooked often, but because he could cook a dish exactly like the one in a video tutorial just by watching it. One day, he told me, "Come here, I'll teach you. When I'm not here, you can cook for yourself." What's the point of learning this? I was completely unmoved. "I won't cook because these hands of mine have more important things to do." He glanced at me with disdain. "Crazy? I don't cook. I'd rather eat fattening hamburgers and Coke." However, I liked watching him cook. When he cooked, I'd roll up his sleeves, put an apron on him, then stand by the door and watch his back. Before, we never had such a domestic atmosphere. When we first met, we both walked to the school cafeteria. Coming home didn't seem to involve work or studying, but rather being in bed. Now, we could even go to the supermarket together. This 40-square-meter apartment felt more like a home than that multi-hundred-square-meter villa. This moved me to tears. I felt like I wasn't destined for such blessings. During my master's years, our lives passed by like this. Until I applied for my PhD. Shen, while rubbing my neck, said, "Nadia Yi, if I die of overwork on the road and you dare to find another man, I'll turn into a ghost and never let you go." I hugged him, feeling ticklish on my neck. I burst out laughing. I told him how, before, when I was at the villa, I used to imagine myself as a waiting for husband rock, waiting for him while smiling and crying. He said, "Back then, didn't you study every day? Every time I came back, you didn't even care. How could that be?" I said indignantly. "I always waited for you to come and hug me, not to say goodbye, because I always felt you would change your mind. Because if I were you, I would definitely fall in love with someone else." He let out a cold laugh. "If you say that, people who don't know might think I've broken up with you many times and had many affairs. But in reality, the most irresponsible person is you." When I was pursuing my PhD, we went to register our marriage. After receiving our marriage certificate, I asked him, "If your mother doesn't acknowledge me and says if you don't divorce me, she'll kick you out and freeze your credit cards, and you lose your career, what will you do? Will you go back or stay with me?" He casually said while driving, "I'll jump off a building and tell my mother that this is proof of my love." I immediately imagined him actually jumping off a building for me and suddenly felt incredibly romantic. "Before you die, you have to say goodbye to me, Nadia Yi, the love of your life." I shivered, putting on an unbearable expression. I asked him again, "Doesn't your mother have any opinions? I mean, about us getting married. Does she live with me or do you live with her? She should learn to let go. If she can't, it's fine. I'll tell her to just take care of her precious younger son. I don't need her to trouble herself. Speaking of which, I haven't met my future brother-in-law, have I? It's thanks to him that we're here today." He glanced at me without saying anything. But I felt that the relationship between him and his younger brother probably wasn't very good, because in families with 2 children, the eldest often gets neglected. This made me a little worried about having children later. To graduate quickly and return to the country, I had to study many things every day. The days passed by truly busy and fulfilling. Until he came for another visitation day. He was startled and asked me, "Nadia Yi, why have you gained so much weight?" I was also startled. "I'm not fat, we just got married. Are you already starting to criticize me? I haven't even mentioned your scruffy beard." On the way home, we kept arguing about this. He said he was just stating facts while I was making personal attacks. I said he was just nitpicking. I hadn't originally wanted to mention his scruffy beard because it was winter. As soon as we got home, I immediately took off my jacket and went to look in the mirror. I had to admit I really had gained a bit of weight. I pinched the flesh on my body and said, "It must be from eating too many snacks. You have no idea how much energy I expend studying every day." He looked at my waist and asked, "Are you pregnant?" I quickly went to get checked, and it turned out to be true. The 2 of us sat on the sofa, neither saying a word. I felt my mind blank. After a while, he said, "How about you defer your studies for now?" "Why defer? I'll go back to the country and you'll take care of me." "Why don't you take a leave from work?" Half a month later, he actually suspended his work. My classmates, hearing that a family member came to study with me to facilitate care, were very surprised. Because many female family members came to accompany students, but male family members who came to accompany were mostly considered to be good-for-nothings, sponging off their wives. Moreover, they always wanted to come to my place for free meals, curious to see what this wife sponger was like. After Shen cooked for over 10 people twice, he told me, "Next time you bring people home for food, don't come home yourself." I also felt very guilty, but I understood the longing for hometown food among international students. However, I still didn't dare say no to Shen. Now he had to work remotely. Generally, it was better for him to stay abroad. But we felt like we had still miscalculated one thing. We always thought pregnancy meant being careful with every little detail. But we never expected the toughest challenge to be after giving birth. He looked at the pink newborn in the bassinet with a calm gaze. He said, "I didn't expect her to be so small." I said, "Me neither. Before, I thought I'd give birth to an 8-year-old, all wet and bloody, who would just come out and call Mom, asking if I could take her to play." As soon as we finished speaking, the baby immediately burst into tears. Both of us simultaneously saw expressions of fear, confusion, and worry on each other's faces. Luckily, the nanny arrived to rescue us. Besides, it was nothing, just being played with. Everyone noticed something strange. Shen actually allowed Nadia to cling to him every day. When he first entered university, driving a Maybach to the dorm entrance immediately caused a sensation. And being so handsome, many female students pursued him, all with the mentality of, what if I succeed? Some even simultaneously pursued several influential figures to maximize their chances of success. Influential figures were outstanding students, all very smart and understood investment returns. At that time, Shen hated those people to death. He even called bodyguards to chase them away. Anyone who dared to disturb him, he would throw into the water. Everyone secretly cursed him as crazy. So what if he's capable? But this method was very effective. No one dared to bother him anymore. He also didn't allow anyone to sit next to him. He hated the smell of people the most. That's right, the smell of people. He found it incredibly dirty. He was in the dorm because he didn't want to go home. His mother nagged to death. No matter where he was, his mother would come to unleash her boundless maternal love. Only the dorm could give him peace. That's why the cleaning lady came every day to clean for him. Their dorm room was even cleaner than a female dorm room. Such a person, yet he didn't chase that girl away. Everyone felt immense regret, thinking, I wish I hadn't given up so early, or I should have changed my timing to pursue him. They hadn't expected him to be so easy to chase. Until Nadia stopped coming. A few bold girls came up to him, expressing their solicitousness. He immediately said coldly, Scram, if you don't, I'll teach you what manners and upbringing are. His gaze was too terrifying. No one dared to speak carelessly in front of that look and aura. Shen had been played. Initially, he thought that after Nadia pursued him for a while, he would reluctantly agree. After all, he didn't find her annoying or detestable, except for being a little foolish. She shamelessly liked him, as if she would die without him. He even found it quite useful. Why didn't she discover me earlier and start chasing me sooner? It was truly a waste of over 2 years of university. Every time he listened to her babble nonsense with a poker face, he actually enjoyed it immensely. But he had read online that when being pursued, you absolutely must not agree easily. Otherwise, the other person won't cherish you. He firmly adhered to this rule, determined to make Nadia feel that he was extremely difficult to chase, so she would cherish him. But this damned woman, it was all just for his mother's money really, his mother's money, no offense to anyone. He felt utterly bewildered, indignant, and furious. He was like a young girl whose feelings were toyed with by a scoundrel, truly wanting to die together with the other party. What's more, the other party didn't even cry pitifully, lying that their family was sick and they were forced to deceive him. She didn't even bother to lie to him. He was incredibly angry. He felt his pride being trampled underfoot, stepped on several times. No, I am the dignified young Master of Beijing. Who doesn't flatter me or endure me. What I want, I get. She must love me. She came to provoke me herself. People must pay for their actions or make amends. Otherwise, I will definitely chop her into pieces and then soak her in formalin. But after some time, he had matured a bit. He no longer wanted to die with her or turn her into a specimen. He felt that being with Nadia was very good. Although she always only knew how to study, after that fateful moonlit night, their relationship progressed by leaps and bounds. He almost had an addiction to her. He felt his way of showing love was through actions, but what Nadia wanted was his endless hugs and caresses. Shen, however, didn't have that much time. He was very busy and always had to rush off. They always missed each other. When one's feelings cooled, the other's burned fiercely. He discovered that the other person had blocked him. Disgusting, how could she do that? If I can't live in peace, neither can she. I won't let her go even in death. Both of them were very picky eaters. He wanted to see how happy she could be. He wanted to cook, then brazenly pour it to a dog right in front of her, not letting her eat. She hugged him, crying earth-shattering tears. In his heart, he also felt a bit bittersweet. Oh, it seems my girlfriend still can't live without me? Her words always made him want to choke her. What could be more important than holding a girlfriend's stomach? If there was, it was holding a girl's heart.